Hey everyone, and welcome back to Life Factually. Today we're diving into a topic that's both fascinating and a little unsettling: plastic in our food. Yeah, you heard that right. We're talking about those tiny, often invisible plastic particles that are increasingly making their way from our environment into our bodies. And the really crazy part? Scientists estimate that the average person consumes about a credit card's worth of plastic every single week. Let that sink in for a second. A credit card, that's like enough to build a small plastic castle in your stomach, except it's not fun at all. So in this video, we're gonna uncover 23 surprising ways you might be eating plastic without even realizing it. Because honestly, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction, and in this case it's also potentially harmful to our health. But don't worry, we're not just here to freak you out. We're also going to talk about practical steps you can take to reduce your plastic intake. Let's get started. Let's talk about non-stick pans, a kitchen staple. They're great for cooking without sticking, but the Teflon coating can be problematic. Scratches or overheating can release Teflon flakes into your food. Opt for PFOA-free pans and avoid metal utensils to minimize risks. What about the tools we use to flip, stir, and serve our food? We're talking about plastic cooking utensils. They're lightweight and inexpensive, but heat is an issue. Many plastic utensils can't handle high temperatures. They can melt and release harmful chemicals. Switch to heat-resistant materials like stainless steel, wood, or bamboo. They're safer and look stylish in your kitchen. Alright, we're talking plastic cutting boards. Tiny cuts from knives create micro shreds of plastic. These end up in your food. Consider switching to wood or bamboo. They look great and are safer. Plastic wrap. It's like the kitchen's version of duct tape, right? Good for everything from covering leftovers to protecting your furniture during a painting project. But when it comes to heating up food, plastic wrap can turn from convenient to concerning. See, when plastic wrap heats up, especially in the microwave, it can release chemicals into your food. It's like a microscopic prison break, except the escapees are unwanted chemicals infiltrating your lunch, and nobody wants that. We're talking phthalates, BPA, all sorts of things you don't want hanging out in your system. So next time you're tempted to nuke that plate of leftovers with a layer of plastic wrap on top, maybe think twice. There are plenty of alternatives. Reusable containers, beeswax wraps, even just a plate on top of a bowl. Let's keep our food tasty and chemical-free. One less plastic wrap sheet at a time. Silicone baking molds. They're flexible, they're non-stick. They make baking a breeze. Plus they come in all sorts of fun shapes and sizes. But here's the thing. Even silicone, as awesome as it is, has its limits. You see, under high heat, silicone can start to degrade. It's not as dramatic as like spontaneous combustion or anything, but those high temperatures can cause the silicone to break down and release particles into your food. Now, I'm not saying your silicone spatula is going to turn your next batch of cookies into a health hazard, but it's something to be mindful of, especially if you're using older molds that have seen better days. If you notice any cracks, tears, or discoloration in your silicone bakeware, it might be time to retire them. And hey, that just means you have an excuse to buy new ones, right? Just make sure to treat them with care, avoid using harsh abrasives, and keep an eye out for any signs of wear and tear. Happy baking! Alright, we're diving deeper into the sneaky world of plastic, and this time, it's about to hit close-to-home takeout containers. We all love a good pad thai night, but those convenient containers? They might be serving up a side of plastic with your meal. See, a lot of takeout containers, especially the styrofoam ones, are notorious for leaching harmful chemicals into your food, especially when they're hot. Think about it, your steaming hot soup is basically getting cozy with those chemicals, and some of them end up in your food. And then, you know the drill, they end up inside you. It's a bit of a bummer, because honestly, who wants to cook every single night? But the good news is, there are ways to outsmart this plastic invasion. We'll talk about solutions later, but for now, just remember, takeout containers, while convenient, might be hiding more than just your delicious leftovers. Stay tuned, because up next we're gonna chill out with a surprising source of plastic you might be unknowingly consuming every single day. Okay, let's talk about something we all love, especially on a hot day: ice. It's cold, refreshing, and makes any drink instantly better. But what if I told you that your refreshing ice cubes could be hiding a secret? A plastic secret? Yep, you heard that right. Many plastic ice cube trays, especially the older ones or those made from less than ideal plastics, can release microplastics into your ice. It's like a tiny plastic party in your drink, and you're the uninvited guest. The freezing and thawing process can cause the plastic to degrade, and those tiny plastic bits, they end up in your drink, and eventually you ingest them. It's not exactly the refreshing hydration we were hoping for, right? But don't worry, just like with everything else we've talked about, knowledge is power. Now that you know about this sneaky source of plastic, you can make informed choices. Stick around, because in the next chapter, we're going to tackle a beverage that's often marketed as pure and healthy, but might be hiding a plastic truth. We all know staying hydrated is crucial, and bottled water seems convenient. But did you know 93% contains microplastics? You end up drinking them. It's unsettling, right? Stay tuned for practical solutions to avoid plastic side effects. Okay, canned goods, a pantry staple, right? But many cans are lined with BPA, a harmful chemical. BPA can disrupt hormones and pose health risks. Look for BPA-free cans or choose fresh and frozen alternatives. Let's talk about convenience. What's more convenient than a microwavable meal? Pop it in, heat it up, and boom, dinner is served. But that convenience often comes at a cost. Many trays are made from plastic, which can leach chemicals into your food. Transfer food to a microwave-safe plate before heating. Every little bit helps. Alright, snack time! Who doesn't love a good bag of chips? But those convenient snack bags might harbor unwanted guests. We're talking about phthalates, chemicals used to make plastics flexible. Linked to health concerns, especially in children. They can migrate into food, especially oily, fatty foods. So what's a health-conscious individual to do? Opt for snacks in less processed packaging, and transfer them to a reusable container. Enjoy your snacks, but be mindful. Alright, next up we're tackling those seemingly innocent paper cups. You know, the ones you grab for your morning coffee or a quick takeaway tea? Yeah, those guys. Turns out they might not be as innocent as they seem. Most paper cups are lined with polyethylene, a type of plastic. It prevents leaks but can break down in hot liquids. Those microplastics can end up in your drink. Reusable travel mugs are a fantastic option. They reduce plastic waste and look cooler. Your body and the planet will thank you. Okay, popcorn lovers, this one's for you. But those convenient microwave popcorn bags, they often contain PFAS, and PFAS is not something you want. It's linked to health problems. Try air-popped popcorn instead. It's healthier and cheaper. It's a win-win, my friends. Alright, let's talk about cartons. They seem pretty harmless, right? Well, here's the catch. Many of these cartons have multiple layers. And guess what some of those layers are made of? Plastic. They can leach chemicals into your food and drinks. But fear not, there are alternatives. Look for brands with fewer plastic layers or plant-based materials, or make your own soup at home. No plastic! Okay, remember when we talked about microplastics in bottled water? Turns out, they're like those friends who just show up uninvited to every party. This time, they're crashing the fruit basket. See those shiny apples and lemons at the grocery store? Yeah, those are often coated with a thin layer of synthetic wax. And guess what? That wax can contain plastic compounds. It's meant to keep the fruit fresh and looking good, but it also means you might be getting an extra dose of plastic with your afternoon snack. The good news is, there are ways to avoid this. You can buy unwaxed fruit or just give your produce a good scrub under running water before you eat it. And hey, speaking of things we put in our mouths, did you know there's plastic hiding in some unexpected places? Like places you wouldn't even think to look? Let's talk about chewing gum. Alright, so you're just chilling, maybe watching some YouTube, wink wink, and you pop a piece of gum in your mouth. Seems harmless enough, right? Well, not so fast. Turns out many chewing gums contain a plastic ingredient called gum base. Yeah, you heard that right. That chewy texture you love, it could be due in part to plastic. Now, the research on the health effects of chewing gum base is still ongoing and it's not fully understood yet. But knowing that you're literally chewing on plastic for minutes on end, it's enough to make you want to spit it out and stick to, like, a nice piece of fruit. Or maybe not fruit now that we know about the wax thing. This is getting complicated. Okay, so we've covered fruits and gum. What's next on our plastic-laden adventure? Oh, just a nice, soothing cup of tea. Because what could be more relaxing than knowing that your beverage of choice might also contain microplastics? You see, many tea bags, especially those silky pyramid-shaped ones, are made with nylon or PET mesh. And when you steep those bags in hot water, yeah, they can release microplastics directly into your cup. So, what's a tea lover to do? The good news is that there are alternatives. Look for tea bags made from biodegradable materials like paper or silk, or go old school and brew your tea with loose leaves and a strainer. Your taste buds and your body will thank you. And trust me, we're just getting started. There's a whole lot more plastic lurking in our food system than you might think. Stick around because things are about to get really interesting. Okay, this one really surprised me. You know how much I love salty snacks, right? Turns out our good friend sodium chloride might be hiding a secret. Recent studies have shown that a whopping 90% of table salt brands, and we're talking the stuff we sprinkle on everything, contain microplastics. Microplastics, those tiny plastic particles smaller than 5 millimeters, are everywhere these days, from the oceans to our food chain. And now it seems they've infiltrated our salt shakers. It's kind of a bummer, right? You're just trying to enjoy your French fries and bam! You're accidentally consuming plastic. Now before you swear off salt altogether, let's not panic. The amount of microplastics found in salt varies depending on the brand and where it's sourced, but it's still a good reminder to be mindful of what we're consuming. We'll talk more about how to reduce your plastic consumption later in this video, so stick around. In the meantime, maybe do a little research on your go-to salt brand. Knowledge is power, my friends. So, we're all trying to drink more water, right? Staying hydrated is important. And for those of us who use water filters, we might think we're doing a good job of keeping things clean and pure. But here's the thing, not all water filters are created equal. Specifically, we're talking about non-RO water filters, as in, filters that don't use reverse osmosis. While these filters do a decent job of removing larger contaminants, they often miss the really tiny stuff like nanoplastics. Nanoplastics are even smaller than microplastics, and they can slip right through the pores of standard filters. Now I know what you're thinking. Hank, you're freaking me out. Is no water safe? Don't worry, I'm not saying that. Reverse osmosis filters, while a bit pricier, are much more effective at removing these tiny plastic particles. The takeaway here is to be informed consumers. Read up on your water filter, understand its limitations, and if you're concerned about nanoplastics, consider investing in an RO system. Clean water is important, so let's make sure we're actually getting it. Okay, we all know plastic straws are bad for the environment. We've seen the pictures of turtles with straws stuck in their noses and it's heartbreaking. But beyond the environmental impact, there's another reason to ditch the plastic straw: microplastics. Yep, those tiny plastic particles are back to haunt us. And this time, they're coming for our smoothies. You see, when you sip on a plastic straw, especially if you're the kind of person who likes to chew on their straw, no judgment, you're essentially shaving off tiny bits of plastic. These microplastics then end up in your drink, and ultimately, in you. It's not exactly the refreshing beverage experience we were hoping for, right? The good news is, there are plenty of alternatives to plastic straws these days. We've got reusable straws made of metal, bamboo, glass, even pasta. So, next time you're ordering a drink, remember to say no straw, or better yet, bring your own reusable straw. Your drinks and the planet will thank you for it. Let's talk about spice jars. Those innocent-looking containers could harbor microplastics. Spices can absorb chemicals from plastic jars. Opt for glass jars or grind whole spices yourself. Fresh spices taste better and keep you microplastic-free. Okay, new parents and parents-to-be, this one's for you. You're meticulously researching the best baby monitors, the safest cribs, the most organic onesies. But have you considered those plastic baby bottles? I know, they're convenient, lightweight, and seem indestructible compared to glass. But here's the catch. Heating those plastic bottles, especially at high temperatures, can release microplastics directly into your baby's milk or formula. And those tiny plastic particles? Yeah, those end up right where you don't want them. In your little one's developing system. The research on microplastics and infant health is still ongoing, but do we really want to wait for definitive proof before taking action? We're talking about the most vulnerable humans among us. Luckily, there are alternatives. Glass baby bottles, while requiring a bit more care, are a fantastic way to avoid this plastic predicament. Look for options with silicone sleeves for easier gripping and added protection. Your baby will thank you later, or at least, when they're old enough to talk. Pre-washed, pre-packaged produce seems convenient. But those plastic clamshells can leach chemicals into your food. Fresh produce absorbs these chemicals. It's like putting your organic kale in a chemical bath. Opt for loose produce and reusable bags. Prioritize your health with fresh, unpackaged produce. So there you have it, 23 surprising ways you might be ingesting plastic without even realizing it. It can feel overwhelming, right? Like plastic is an inescapable part of our lives. But here's the good news. Knowledge is power. By being aware of these hidden sources of plastic, you can make informed choices to reduce your exposure. Swap out those plastic containers for glass, ditch single-use plastics for reusable alternatives, and support companies that prioritize sustainable packaging. Every little step counts. Subscribe to Life Factually for more eye-opening life facts. And hey, if you've spotted other sneaky plastics lurking in our food system, let's expose them. Share your findings in the comments below. Let's create a ripple effect of awareness and make a difference, one plastic-free choice at a time.